What's going on, good people? This is your boy Marvin, your favorite realtor's favorite realtor, coming to you with our weekly Instagram live podcast thing. Um, what it essentially is honestly a miniature version of the full podcast where I break down popular questions that either I've gotten from my clients or you as the person that's following this page has sent to me privately or through email. And my goal and my objective, honestly, is to just pour into people as much as possible. For one, because that's just what the world needs, right? We need more people giving and serving. And our objective for 2023 as a company is to just pour into as many people as humanly possible. So my hope and my prayer is that you walk away from this particular conversation with some actionable nugget. And I've done my part for the world. But if you want to learn more and connect with your boy, please click the link in the bio. If you are a buyer or seller interested in doing something in the real estate space, click the link in my bio. If you're another real estate agent and you are looking to potentially partner and you are not currently a real estate professional with eXp Realty, click the link in my bio. But we're talking about today 5 potential areas that home buyers may want to look at as it relates to their next purchase. And I wrote a series of topics down, and I think these are really, really powerful and impactful things. But if I don't cover everything that you thought you'd see on this conversation, please let me know, and I may do a follow-up Instagram live. But we're going to try to rock out with this at least 1 or 2 times a week, so I'm super excited. And thanks for following the page, by the way, if you are catching this live. But we want to talk about some of the ways as far as how to determine the right location to buy a home and what factors to consider, especially when searching for like the perfect neighborhood. And we all know that I had to put the air quotes up because perfect is honestly a subjective statement. But I think it depends on where you are in the home buying journey. For example, if you are a first-time home buyer, your perspective on owning real estate and things of that nature is definitely going to be more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as it should be, because this is a big freaking accomplishment if you're a first-time home buyer and you are changing your life from being a consumer to an owner, meaning that if you are currently renting at the moment, you're not building any kind of equity for yourself. You are building your landlord's equity. And for a time, that's perfectly fine. That's the name of the game. But at some point in the back of your mind, you should be looking at ownership. And there's honestly never a perfect time to do it. It really just depends on your personal situation, your outstanding debt, and other factors. And that's why it's important to have a real estate professional at your beck and call for the most part to help you walk through that process. Because as a buyer, our compensation typically comes from the seller's side of things. So please reach out, if not to me, or someone on my team, reach out to a real estate professional, especially if you are a first-time home buyer. And the things that I always walk through for first-time home buyers, and then we'll talk about seasoned home buyers and real estate investors and factors they should look at. But for my first-time home buyers, remember that there's no such thing as settling when this is your first home for a number of reasons. Your first home is your first home. And what that typically means is that throughout your lifespan, you're going to have a second, third, fourth, fifth, or in some cases, 10th or 20 homes. But your first home is always going to be that special home for you and where you are in your current stage in life. And so I always say, if you are a growing family, for example, your expectations on your first home is going to be a lot different than someone that, doesn't have or desire children. If you are a single person versus a married person, your expectations on your first home, it may be your first home together with your partner, but it may not necessarily be your first home. But in a sense, it is because you're buying a home with a person that you have chosen to spend the rest of your life with. So you've got to look at a couple things that I think every first-time home buyer should walk through. And this is why it's uber important to work with a real estate professional. For one, as a first-time home buyer, where you start is not where you finish. So if there is a really pretty home out there, either new construction or a home that's been lived in before, and it's just enough space for where you are currently in life, and let's say it's a little bit more for a possible expansion, that might be an ideal first home, especially if it's in a part of town that you either work or would like to just kind of be around because it's a certain vibe. If you're looking for the suburbs, for example, you can, and in most cases, in most cities, you can get more home for your money in the suburbs versus being in the downtown or the metropolitan area of a particular city. And so if that's where you are in life and that's where you want to be, then that is not settling at all, honestly, because your end goal in mind is always how you need to be operating. And so most important thing is that you don't want to buy too much home for your money, especially as a first-time home buyer, because it could be a very, very difficult task getting from under that home if you bought too much home for your money. And so in our situation, in our story, we bought a home literally sight unseen as our first home that we purchased together, my wife and I. And it was I mean, one of us saw the home, and that's really honestly all that matters. But literally, I never saw the home before we moved, before we officially, started the process of moving in. But my wife did. She saw the model that they offered or a similar property. And so we just rocked out with it. But when I tell you it was in a podunk part of town, there was nothing out there at all where we were. But you know what? That's the cool thing about working with a real estate professional, because even though we were surrounded by just land when we moved into our first home, our real estate professional told us, hey, I really believe based on this data that this area is going to appreciate and that there's the potential for certain big name businesses to come out here. And as soon as that happens, your values are going to skyrocket. And so we trusted that, even though we didn't necessarily know or, believe her in any way, shape, form, or fashion, if she was honestly telling the truth, but we trusted that. And lo and behold, and that wasn't, we've purchased many properties after that, but I mean, we walked out of that thing with a nice bag. I'm just going to be honest, be honest with you. And if I had not, or if my wife and I had not trusted our real estate professional, because again, the area of town was not necessarily the best, but it wasn't the worst, but it was safe and it had the potential to appreciate. And the data supported that there's room for expansion and room for continued growth and more individuals that were moving into the area for work because it was very close to a very strategic employer. Man, it was pretty awesome. Are you a real estate agent looking to jumpstart your career? Join our online agent network and gain access to the support and resources you need to succeed. One of the most effective ways to attract clients in this industry is through social media. And I can tell you, in my entire time as a real estate professional, I have not knocked on one door, and yet I've still generated several $1 million worth of sales per year. And our team is here to help you do the same thing. Click the link in today's show notes today or visit iamthetribe.com to learn more about this amazing opportunity. Now back to the show. It was pretty awesome. But if we had not listened to that wise counsel from working with a professional, we would not have known that when it was time to sell, that it would be a pretty dope situation at the closing table. And so that's one of the things you got to make sure that you're looking at, is making sure that there's data to support that first time home purchase is not close to any kind of seedy businesses or problematic companies that are in the area. Also making sure that, from an environmental standpoint, that the home, not just the home, but that the area in question is not subject to floods or tornadoes or near a chemical plant or any kind of weird thing that you may not find out until it's too late, unfortunately. And again, I'm a real estate professional, so I'm always going to suggest that individuals reach out to real estate professionals, because we have this data and we have this data to provide to you at any time. And it just makes for a smarter business transaction when you're working with a professional. But this isn't a plug for realtors, even though I am one. But it's just a strong suggestion, especially if you're wanting to buy smart for your first time home. Now, as a real estate investor, what are the things that you should look at if you are buying purely for the profit? I mean, it's kind of the same things, but it's different in another way. And what I mean is essentially, if you're a real estate investor, you are wanting to know that not only do you have the ability for appreciation in that home purchase, and you can essentially buy appreciation by getting an incredible deal on what I always say, the ugliest house in the nicest neighborhood, because then you can make upgrades, fix it up, things of that nature, and then essentially raise the value of that home just by putting in a little bit of sweat equity. But in addition to that, if you are purely seeking cash flow, well, you're going to want to know that the comps, again, benefit of working with a realtor, you're going to want to know that the comps support a certain rental amount that you need to walk away with, or a certain dollar amount that you need to walk away with through rents that not only covers the mortgage and expenses of the home, but also leaves you with a nice little, consistent profit or a consistent income stream or cash flow at the end of each month. Because you definitely, as a real estate investor, you don't want to buy a home that's not going to rent for what you need it to rent for. That would not be a wise investment in 9 times out of 10 situations. Again, unless your play was appreciation and baking in appreciation. But as a real estate investor as well, you're going to want to look at the same factors as far as what are the companies that are coming into that area, what types of businesses are coming into that area, because that's going to give you a really good determination of the quality of tenant that you can require to move into that particular property. For example, if you live in a lower income level neighborhood, well, the amount of rent that you can command may not get you to where you need to be as far as the bottom line is concerned. But if you're in an area where there's a Whole Foods or some other economic indicator that says, okay, the incomes in this particular part of town are a certain level, this is the certain class of tenant that I can command because this is the certain class of tenants that are maybe in other similar properties, things of that nature, well, that is definitely going to play a big factor into where you buy in a particular part of town. And again, we as real estate professionals or other real estate investors, if you have a network of them that you work with, they can give you guidance in that area to let you know, hey, this is an opportunity here that folks are not aware of, or this is what's going on. You are, for lack of a better word, in real estate, you are more than welcome and more than free to insider trade, if you will, because if a buddy of yours or maybe someone at a meetup group that you're a part of for other real estate investors knows that a certain business is coming to the area and that business is going to bring jobs and opportunities to that area, it may be a smart play to go ahead and get a property under contract, to purchase a property outright, just because you know that the area is going to shift dramatically, and those individuals that are coming in, especially if it's like a hospital that's being built, which there's actually a hospital nearby, and we are looking at property in that area because there's going to be nurses that come in that are going to need places to stay over here, just to let you guys know what we're doing as a company. So, that's just some of the things that you want to look at as it relates to first-time home buyers and the like, as well as real estate investors and what they should look at in a property that they're interested in. So hope you got value from today's quick Instagram Live. If you appreciate and enjoy this kind of content, let me know in the comments below and follow the page for more content like this. Again, if you're watching on Instagram, it's Sold by Marvin. If you're on Twitter, Sold by Marvin. If you are on Facebook, Sold by Marvin. So as you can see, we're rocking and rolling, and I'd love to connect with you and learn more. So be sure to click the link in the bio to follow the page for more. All right, till the next Instagram Live. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.